Today's Anxiety Slayer podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Are stress and anxiety interfering with your happiness? Have you been considering seeing a therapist, but you're not sure where to start? BetterHelp will assess your counseling needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist so you can get the support you need online in under 24 hours. Anxiety Slayer listeners can get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/slayer. That's betterhelp.com/slayer. Welcome back to the Anxiety Slayer podcast. Before we begin, we'd like to thank all of our new patrons for supporting us on Patreon. Thank you so, so much. Welcome back, Ananga.
Hey, Shan.
Following on from last week's podcast, we'll be talking about the benefits of a daily breathing practice for calming general anxiety.
So we'll be looking at the teachings from the ancient sciences of yoga and Ayurveda that both teach that our mind is really affected by our breath. When our breathing's fast and shallow, as it often is, with anxiety and often without us even noticing it, it stirs up our thoughts. The more rapid our breathing is, the faster our thoughts are. There's a direct link between our thoughts and our breath. So that's what we're looking at today. It's described often in Ayurveda that a calm mind is like a still lake. A still lake's clear and peaceful, the water's clear, and it reflects its surroundings. It reflects the sky or the trees around it clearly, and that's our aim for a peaceful mind. But when our thoughts get stirred up by anxiety, our mind becomes like a lake that's really churned up and has all the mud and weeds dredged up from the bottom and mixed in with the water. It's not clear, it's not calm. And when our mind gets pushed around by anxiety, that's when it drags up unwanted thoughts. And those thoughts become mixed up with the things we're trying to think about, the things we're trying to do with our day, and the mind becomes very turbulent.
Well, I love this metaphor of the water. As you know, I'm at the water as often as I possibly can be at Lake Michigan. And as I was listening to you, I was just thinking about how it feels to visit Lake Michigan and she's calm versus when she's all fired up and the waves are rolling in, and how that even affects you as a visitor. You might just be going there to enjoy the nature, the space, and be by the water, but it will absolutely make an impression on you and affect how you're feeling in that moment. I normally feel very invigorated when the waves and things are coming in, but at the same time, if I weren't well, if my anxiety was kicking up, would not like that at all. Wouldn't even want to be visiting at that particular point. I'd much rather have it when it's nice and still and peaceful and reflective. And anyway, I just love the metaphor.
It's a helpful metaphor to reflect on. When I visit my parents and they live near the sea, I like to look at the sea and just meditate on that nature and its effect on the mind and where they are. Sometimes the sea is very calm and still, and sometimes it's really churny, and I like to walk to the edge of the waves and just listen to that sound. I love that undertow sound of shingles going back into the sea, but sometimes you'll see it really throw up so much sand and so much debris. And there's a hotel where they live, which is high. You have to walk up quite a high slope to get to this old Victorian hotel. And sometimes the waves are so powerful that they're throwing stuff up in the direction of the hotel, or big lumps of rock will come out the sea up on the promenade where people walk, and you really see that power. I find it fascinating. I always love watching water. But certainly when you get to see that still calm, as sometimes with the river where we live, you get to see it very still, dead calm and smooth on the surface, and reflects really accurately what's happening above it. The clouds are mirrored in it, the trees are mirrored in it. That's the metaphor for a peaceful mind in Ayurveda, and a happy mind, because a happy mind is one that can reflect truly and clearly. It isn't confused and cloudy and mixed up.
The breathing practices of yoga and Ayurveda really help so much. They will calm a restless mind in no time at all and really help settle and bring peace and clarity back to the mind. And the practices that we often refer to are pranayama or pranayam breathing, which is an ancient yogic practice for healing the body and calming and balancing the mind. I first started doing this work when I was getting my yoga teacher training and teaching yoga back 10 years ago. And the breath work, as much as I absolutely love yoga and practicing yoga without the breath, like the breath work for me was everything
Mm.
to really made a difference that I could see very quickly whenever I allowed myself the practice, when I gave myself that gift. And the meaning of pranayama is pranayama means controlling life force or prana. And there are many different practices that direct or control the breath in different ways for many different healing results. There's just you have so many options. Today we're going to share one with you, but we want you to know that you have lots and lots of options here. But before we do that, let's talk about why breathing practices can also sometimes be challenging for people who are suffering with anxiety.
Yeah, sometimes a lot of anxiety goes in the direction of our breathing, and we often receive messages about this. If our breathing's affected by anxiety or anxiety attacks, we can feel really triggered or anxious when we focus on our breath. If the mind tends to fixate on sensations around breathing, then it will really zoom in on any feelings that we might perceive as constriction, difficulty breathing, discomfort around breathing. Then anything that we felt uncomfortable with in the past, we know anxiety will highlight that up for us. And of course, with anxiety and anxiety attacks, then our breathing is affected by the anxiety. So sometimes there's just a part of the mind that doesn't want to turn towards and work with things that have caused fear in the past.
And if focusing on breathing causes you anxiety, we recommend starting with EFT tapping to clear any of those anxious thoughts before moving into a new breathing practice. And we actually have a guided tapping session available for this. You can simply search for episode 463 on health anxiety and the fear of not being able to breathe, and we'll walk you right through that.
Yeah, and it's really worth doing because breathing exercises definitely have their place in calming general anxiety. So it's it's good to it's an understandable fear, and it's just what happens with anxiety. Anything that we've felt uncomfortable with, constricted by, challenged by, the mind goes there. But it doesn't mean it always has to go there. We can help it calm and we can reframe that and overcome that fear. And that's what that episode and tapping session's all about.
And you can get the most from your breathing practices by making it a daily practice and trying for just in the morning, let's say the first thing in the morning for 5 or 10 minutes, like a morning meditation. And if 5 or 10 minutes seems like too much, then start out with 2 minutes and then slowly move yourself forward. There are two kinds of practices for working with anxiety. One, the firefighting practice. And this is where we're doing anything we possibly can to stop anxiety from escalating or to help ourselves feel back in control when anxiety spikes. For example, learning how to use EFT tapping to stop an anxiety attack. This is a firefighting practice. But there are also recovering and healing practices. And these are the things you can do every day to support your nervous system, to help reduce anxiety and its impact on your life. These are the breathing practices. This is walking, this is yoga, this is anything that you do to help calm general anxiety and rebuild your resilience.
Yeah, and both have their place. It's really important and extremely helpful to know how to stop an anxiety attack. It's really good to know if you wake up in the morning and your anxiety spikes and you're facing that at the beginning of your day. Really good to know how to calm that down and how to feel more calm and in control and able to move into your day. That's really important. But it also needs to go hand in hand with these recovery practices that can lower the baseline of our anxiety. when we have persistent anxiety, it's like a simmering pot on a stove. And once the water starts to simmer, it's easy for it to go to boiling point. And boiling point would be representative of an anxiety attack. But we can get that simmering down with the daily practices, the recovery and healing practices like breathing and yoga and walking. That brings that baseline energy in the mind down. So it brings the water temperature in the pot, example, down to a cooler temperature. And you know, when you first put a pot on the stove, for it to get to simmering point takes a while. But once it simmers, to get from simmering to boiling can happen very quickly. So that's why we can easily find our anxiety escalating if our baseline rate is already simmering. So anything we can do to bring that down gives us more resilience, gives us more headspace, gives us more of a buffer. So that's where the daily practices really are valuable.
The practice we'll be sharing in this episode is called alternate nostril breathing. And this practice is widely shared as it promotes physical and mental health benefits. It's one of my go-to breathing practices. And alternate nostril breathing will help calm stress and anxiety, increase focus and clarity. It's excellent for respiratory and cardiovascular health. And it brings an overall sense of peace and well-being after just 5 or 6 rounds of your breath. After the break, we'll be sharing our guided pranayama breathing practice from our Transition to Calm album. Today's Anxiety Slayer podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. Are stress and anxiety interfering with your happiness and preventing you from living your best life? This year, I worked with a therapist at BetterHelp to manage my anxiety around my daughter moving out in the middle of the pandemic. What a relief to have someone kind and objective in my corner. And she was a mom who had already been there and done that. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist. BetterHelp is not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's professional counseling done securely online, and their service is available for clients all around the world. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses. Plus, you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions or even text sessions so you don't have to leave the comfort of your own home. It's more affordable than traditional in-person counseling, and financial aid is available. And there is a special offer for Anxiety Slayer listeners. You can get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/slayer. That's betterhelp.com/slayer. Alternate nostril breathing, Nadi Shodhana. Alternate nostril breathing is a very calming and purifying practice. It involves simply controlling the flow of the breath through each nostril in turn. Sit in a comfortable position on the floor or in a chair. Rest your right thumb next to your right nostril and place your index and middle finger on the eyebrow center or third eye. And then hold your ring finger next to your left nostril. Your right elbow should be down in front of your chest, and your shoulders should be released and relaxed. Your left hand can rest on your left knee. To begin, close the right nostril with your right thumb and inhale slowly through the left nostril while counting up to 5. Then close the left nostril with your ring finger, and at the same time, remove your thumb from the right nostril and exhale through this nostril while counting to 5. This completes half a round. Inhale through the right nostril for 5 seconds. Then close the right nostril with your right thumb and exhale through the left nostril for 5 seconds. This completes one full round. Stay with me now to complete 4 more rounds of Nadi Shodhana. Close the right nostril with your right thumb and inhale slowly through the left nostril while counting up to 5. Then close the left nostril with your ring finger, and at the same time, remove your thumb from the right nostril and exhale through this nostril while counting to 5. Inhale through the right nostril for 5 seconds. Then close the right nostril with your right thumb and exhale through the left nostril for 5 seconds. Close the right nostril with your right thumb and inhale slowly through the left nostril while counting up to 5. Then close the left nostril with your ring finger and at the same time, remove your thumb from the right nostril and exhale through this nostril while counting to 5. Now inhale through the right nostril for 5 seconds. Then close the right nostril with your right thumb and exhale through the left nostril for 5 seconds. You've just completed 3 full rounds. Close the right nostril with your right thumb and inhale slowly through the left nostril while counting up to 5. Then close the left nostril with your ring finger and at the same time, remove your thumb from the right nostril and exhale through this nostril while again counting to 5. Inhale through the right nostril for 5 seconds. And then close the right nostril with your right thumb and exhale through the left nostril for 5 seconds. This completes round 4. Last round. Close the right nostril with your right thumb and inhale slowly through the left nostril while counting up to 5. Then close the left nostril with your ring finger and at the same time remove your thumb from the right nostril and exhale through this nostril while counting to 5. Inhale through the right nostril for 5 seconds, then close the right nostril with your right thumb and exhale through the left nostril for 5 seconds. This completes 5 full rounds. Practice alternate nostril breathing anytime you wish to calm your mind and infuse more peace
into your daily life.
We hope you enjoyed that breathing practice. If you love the Anxiety Slayer podcast, we hope that you will consider exploring our Patreon for loads of Anxiety Slayer extras for calming anxiety, including exclusive posts, guided meditations, tapping sessions, and popular episodes from our archives. We also have behind-the-scenes conversations and classes uploaded on a regular basis. You can learn more at patreon.com/Anxiety Slayer.